Imagine a young boy who barely spoke as a child but grew up to change the world with his revolutionary ideas. What made Albert Einstein different? What drove his unstoppable curiosity and shaped him into a genius? This story will take you on a journey through his incredible life, filled with challenges, triumphs, and lessons that still inspire us today. By listening to this captivating story, you will not only discover the human side of a legendary scientist, but also significantly improve your English listening skills. Stay with us until the end, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel now for more inspiring stories that make learning English enjoyable. Albert Einstein was born on March 14, 1879, in a small town called Ulm in Germany. His family was not wealthy, but they were kind and loving. His father, Hermann Einstein, worked as a feather merchant. He sold feathers for pillows and blankets. His mother, Pauline Einstein, loved music and often played the piano. Albert had a younger sister named Maya, who became his closest friend. When Albert was a baby, he was very quiet. Unlike other children, he did not cry a lot or make many sounds. His parents worried about him because he did not start speaking as early as most children. When he finally began to talk, he spoke slowly and carefully, as if he was thinking deeply before saying anything. His parents sometimes wondered if something was wrong, but Albert was just different. He was not a problem. He was just thoughtful. As a young boy, Albert did not like noisy games or loud activities. Instead, he enjoyed being alone with his thoughts. He liked to sit quietly and think about how things worked. One day when Albert was 5 years old, his father showed him something that changed his life. It was a small, simple compass. Albert held it in his hands and watched the needle move. No one was touching it, and yet the needle always pointed in the same direction, north. This fascinated young Albert. He asked his father why the needle moved that way, but his father could not explain everything. He just said it was because of a force called magnetism. Albert could not stop thinking about the compass. How could something invisible move the needle? It seemed like magic. This moment sparked Albert's curiosity about the natural world. He wanted to know why things happened, not just that they happened. The compass made him realize that there were mysteries all around him, waiting to be solved. This small object started his lifelong passion for science. Albert's curiosity made him different from other children. While other boys played outside, Albert preferred to stay inside and think. Sometimes he would sit by himself for hours, just wondering about the world. His parents were both worried and proud. They did not always understand why Albert was so quiet, but they saw that he was always thinking and observing. Albert's mother, Pauline, loved to play the piano. The sound of music filled their small home. Albert listened carefully and soon began to love music too. He learned to play the violin, and it became one of his favorite hobbies. Even when he was older, music remained a big part of his life. It helped him relax and think more clearly. Music was not just a pastime. It was a way for Albert to connect with his emotions. Growing up, Albert often felt different from other children. He did not have many friends, and some people thought he was strange. They could not understand why he asked so many questions or why he liked to be alone. But Albert did not let this bother him too much. He knew that he thought differently, and he was okay with that. He was not interested in being like everyone else. He wanted to understand the world in his own way. Sometimes being different made Albert feel lonely. But instead of feeling sad, he used his loneliness to think more. He would look at the sky, watch the stars, and imagine how the universe worked. His imagination was always active. He did not just see things as they were. He wondered why they were that way. Albert's parents tried to support him, even though they did not always understand his unique way of thinking. His mother encouraged him to keep playing the violin because she knew it made him happy. His father sometimes brought home books or small gadgets to spark Albert's interest. They did their best to nurture his curious mind. One of the things that made Albert special was his ability to think deeply about simple things. Most people looked at a compass and thought it was just a tool. Albert saw it as a mystery. Most people heard music and enjoyed it. Albert listened and felt inspired. He saw the world differently, and that difference would one day change the way people understood science. As Albert grew older, he became more comfortable with his unique mind. He realized that being different was not a problem, it was a gift. His curiosity was like a small fire that kept growing, pushing him to ask more questions and seek more answers. He was not afraid to be himself, even if others did not always understand him. Looking back, it is clear that Albert's childhood shaped the person he would become. His thoughtful nature, his love for music, and his endless curiosity were the foundation of his future as a great scientist. Albert Einstein was not just a quiet boy who liked to think. He was a dreamer, a thinker, and a learner. His journey was just beginning, but his curious mind had already set the path for greatness. When Albert Einstein started school, he quickly noticed that he was different from other children. While his classmates were good at memorizing facts, Albert struggled. He did not like to simply remember things. Instead, he wanted to understand why things were the way they were. This way of thinking sometimes made school difficult for him. Teachers wanted students to follow the rules and learn by repeating information, but Albert found this boring and unhelpful. He wanted to know the reasons behind things, not just the answers. At school, Albert sometimes got in trouble for asking too many questions. Teachers thought he was being difficult, but in reality, he was just curious. He did not mean to be disrespectful. He just wanted to learn in a way that made sense to him. Albert did not like the strict and disciplined environment. He often felt like his mind was trapped. While other students seemed to follow along easily, Albert's thoughts wandered. He wanted to explore ideas, not just repeat facts. One of Albert's favorite places was the family home, where he could think freely. His father and uncle encouraged his interest in science and mathematics. They gave him books that were more advanced than what he learned at school. Albert would read about physics and wonder how the universe worked. These moments at home gave him the freedom to think without being judged. When it was time for higher education, Albert decided to move to Switzerland. He applied to the Polytechnic Institute in Zurich. Getting into this school was not easy, but Albert's passion for learning helped him succeed. Zurich was different from his hometown. It was a lively city, full of new ideas and people from different backgrounds. Albert liked this change. He enjoyed meeting other students who loved science just as much as he did. At the Polytechnic Institute, Albert felt more comfortable. The teachers there encouraged students to think for themselves. They did not just focus on memorization. They wanted students to understand concepts. Albert made friends who shared his passion for science. He felt that he had finally found a place where his ideas were valued. This made him even more determined to study hard and explore new theories. Life in Zurich was not just about studying. Albert also enjoyed playing the violin and discussing ideas with his friends. Sometimes they would gather in small groups to talk about physics and mathematics. These conversations were exciting for Albert because he could share his thoughts and hear new perspectives. Being around other curious minds inspired him to think even more deeply. Despite feeling more at home, Albert still faced challenges. Some subjects were hard, and sometimes he doubted his abilities, but he never gave up. He knew that understanding complex ideas took time and effort. His love for science kept him motivated, even when things were tough. He believed that asking questions and looking for answers was more important than simply getting good grades. During his university years, Albert realized that learning was not just about school. It was about exploring, thinking, and questioning. He would often visit the library, spending hours reading books about physics and mathematics. He enjoyed learning on his own, at his own pace. This independence became a key part of his success later in life. Sometimes, Albert would write down his ideas and think about them deeply. He would not just accept what he read. He would try to understand the logic behind it. His mind was always working, trying to connect ideas and find new solutions. This habit of deep thinking helped him develop theories that would one day change the world. The time in Zurich taught Albert many important lessons. He learned that real education does not always come from a classroom. It comes from being curious, asking questions, and thinking critically. He also learned that it was okay to be different. Not everyone needed to follow the same path. His unique way of thinking was not a weakness, it was his strength. After graduating, Albert faced a new challenge. He needed a job to support himself. Finding work was not easy, and he felt frustrated. He wanted to teach, but no one offered him a position. Eventually, he took a job at the Swiss Patent Office in Bern. It was not his dream job, but it gave him time to think and write. While working at the patent office, Albert continued to explore his scientific ideas. He knew that even though the job was not perfect, it was a stepping stone on his journey. Looking back, it is clear that Albert's education was not just about school lessons. It was about staying curious and not being afraid to think differently. His journey of learning was filled with obstacles, but his passion kept him moving forward. He learned to trust his own mind, even when others did not understand his ideas. This belief in himself would become essential as he made his way into the world of science. After Albert Einstein graduated from the Polytechnic Institute in Zurich, he faced a difficult time finding a job. He wanted to teach physics, but no one offered him a position. Eventually, he took a job at the Swiss Patent Office in Bern. It was not his dream job, but it gave him time to think, read, and develop his own ideas. While working at the patent office, Albert continued to study physics and write scientific papers in his spare time. In 1905, something remarkable happened. Albert had what scientists now call his miracle year. During this time, he published 4 important scientific papers. These papers changed the way people understood physics. One of these papers introduced the special theory of relativity, which became one of his most famous ideas. The special theory of relativity was a new way to think about space and time. Before this theory, most people believed that time passed the same way for everyone, no matter how fast they were moving. But Albert showed that time and space are connected, and they can change depending on how fast you move. This was a completely new idea. Albert also introduced the famous equation E=mc². This equation means that energy and mass are related. A small amount of mass can be turned into a large amount of energy. This idea was revolutionary, and it explained many things that other theories could not. At first, many scientists did not believe Albert's ideas. They thought they were too strange and too different from what they already knew. Some even laughed at his theories. But Albert did not give up. He knew that his ideas were correct because he had carefully thought about them and tested them in his mind. He did not let the criticism discourage him. Slowly, other scientists began to see that Albert's ideas made sense. They started to test his theories with experiments, and the results matched what Albert had predicted. His theory of relativity started to gain acceptance. People realized that he had discovered something truly important. One of the most significant moments came in 1919 when astronomers tested one of Albert's predictions during a solar eclipse. Albert had predicted that light from distant stars would bend when it passed near the sun because of gravity. The eclipse provided the perfect opportunity to test this idea. When the astronomers compared the positions of the stars before and during the eclipse, they found that the light had bent just as Albert had predicted. This discovery made headlines around the world. Suddenly, Albert Einstein became famous, not just among scientists, but also among ordinary people. Although Albert became famous, he remained humble. He did not care much about fame or awards. He just wanted to understand the universe. His breakthrough ideas were not just about showing that he was smart. They were about finding the truth and helping people understand the world better. Albert's success did not come easily. He had to work hard, think deeply, and stay confident even when others doubted him. His courage to think differently was what made him great. He never accepted ideas just because others believed them. He always wanted to see the proof and understand the reasons behind things. During this time, Albert continued to write more scientific papers and develop new ideas. He did not stop with the special theory of relativity. He wanted to know more. He wanted to understand gravity, light, and the connection between different forces in the universe. His curious mind kept pushing him forward. People started to see Albert not just as a scientist, but as a revolutionary thinker. He showed that it was okay to challenge old ideas and think differently. His discoveries inspired young scientists to be bold and curious. Albert's journey was not just about proving a theory. It was about following his passion for knowledge. He taught the world that being curious and asking questions is the heart of science. His breakthrough ideas did not just change physics. They changed how people thought about knowledge and discovery. He proved that imagination and persistence are just as important as facts and formulas. Looking back, it is clear that Albert's success came from his unique way of thinking. He believed that real progress comes from questioning everything, even things that seem obvious. His willingness to challenge traditional ideas made him one of the most important scientists in history. Albert's story teaches us that even when people doubt us, we should keep believing in our ideas if we have carefully thought them through. Sometimes, being different is what makes us great. His journey from a quiet, curious boy to a world-changing scientist shows that curiosity and courage can lead to amazing discoveries. After Albert Einstein became famous for his groundbreaking theories, his life changed in many ways. People around the world admired him for his intelligence and creativity. Scientists looked up to him, and newspapers wrote about his discoveries. However, Albert did not let fame change who he was. He remained humble and continued to focus on his work. One of the most significant moments in his life was when his theory of general relativity was confirmed. In 1919, scientists observed a solar eclipse and saw that light from stars bent as it passed near the sun. This confirmed Albert's prediction and proved that gravity could bend light. The news spread quickly, and Albert became a global icon. Despite his new fame, Albert remained modest. He did not care about being a celebrity. His passion was still understanding the universe. As Albert's reputation grew, he faced new responsibilities. People wanted his opinions on many topics, not just science. He was invited to give lectures, write articles, and meet important leaders. At first, this attention felt overwhelming. Albert was not used to being in the spotlight. He preferred quiet thinking over public speaking. Still, he realized that his position could help promote important causes. Albert used his fame to support peace and human rights. He spoke out against war and violence. After seeing the horrors of World War I, he became a strong advocate for pacifism. He believed that conflicts should be solved through dialogue, not fighting. He also spoke against racism and discrimination. When he moved to the United States, he was shocked to see racial segregation. He publicly supported civil rights leaders and spoke out against injustice. Albert believed that science should serve humanity, not harm it. In the 1930s, life in Germany became dangerous for Jewish people. The Nazi Party gained power, spreading hate and fear. Albert knew he could no longer stay in his home country. He accepted an offer to work at the Institute for Advanced Study in Princeton, New Jersey. Moving to America was not easy, but it was necessary for his safety and for his family. In Princeton, Albert found a peaceful place to continue his research. At the Institute, Albert worked on many scientific problems, but he also became more involved in social issues. He knew that his voice mattered. During World War II, he signed a letter to President Franklin D. Roosevelt, warning that Germany might develop an atomic bomb. This letter led to the start of the Manhattan Project. However, when atomic bombs were used in Japan, Albert was deeply saddened. He regretted that his warning had led to such destruction. After the war, he spoke out against nuclear weapons, advocating for peace and disarmament. Despite his busy schedule, Albert still made time for simple pleasures. He loved walking, sailing, and playing the violin. Music was his way to relax and reflect. Even as an older man, he kept his playful spirit. He was known to pull silly faces for the camera, reminding people that he was just a regular person who happened to think differently. Albert's fame did not change his core values. He remained curious, thoughtful, and kind. He never took himself too seriously, even when the world saw him as a genius. People admired him not just for his mind, but also for his heart. He treated everyone with respect, no matter their background or status. Albert often said that imagination was more important than knowledge. He believed that creativity and curiosity were the keys to discovering new things. His ideas changed the world, but his character left an equally important legacy. He taught others to stay true to themselves even when they became successful. Towards the end of his life, Albert continued to work on his theories. He never stopped trying to understand the universe. Even when his ideas faced criticism or doubt, he remained committed to his quest for knowledge. He believed that science should benefit humanity and help build a more peaceful world. Albert Einstein passed away in 1955, but his legacy lives on. He showed that being different is not a weakness. It can be a source of strength and creativity. His life was a journey of curiosity, discovery, and compassion. Today, his theories continue to shape modern science, and his message of peace continues to inspire people worldwide. Albert Einstein's story reminds us that we should never stop asking questions, and that true greatness comes from both the mind and the heart. Albert Einstein's life was not just about science. It was also about his passion for peace, human rights, and curiosity. Even after becoming one of the most famous scientists in the world, he remained humble and kind. His legacy is not only his theories, but also his way of thinking and living. He showed that being curious, asking questions, and caring about others can change the world. After moving to America, Albert settled in Princeton, New Jersey. He continued his scientific work, but he also focused on social issues. He believed that science should serve humanity. He spoke out against war, violence, and discrimination. He wanted the world to be a better place for everyone. Albert knew that being famous meant people would listen to him, so he used his voice to speak for justice and peace. One of the most remarkable things about Albert was his willingness to admit his mistakes. After World War II, when he saw the damage caused by atomic bombs, he felt regret. Although he did not build the bombs, his warning to President Roosevelt had led to their creation. This made Albert think deeply about the responsibility of scientists. He believed that knowledge should not be used to harm others. Instead, it should help make the world safer and more peaceful. Albert continued to write and think about important topics, even in his later years. He wanted to find a way to unite different scientific theories into one. This goal, called the unified field theory, remained unsolved, but Albert never gave up. His perseverance showed that the journey of discovery is as important as the result. He believed that science was about exploring the unknown, not just finding answers. Albert's dedication to curiosity and truth inspired many young scientists. He encouraged students to think for themselves and not just follow what others said. He believed that imagination was more important than knowledge, because imagination allowed people to see beyond what was already known. This mindset made him a true innovator and a role model for thinkers around the world. Outside of his scientific achievements, Albert was also known for his kindness. He treated people with respect and did not judge them based on their background. He supported civil rights and believed that all people deserved to be treated fairly. When he saw racial discrimination in America, he spoke out against it. He felt that remaining silent in the face of injustice was wrong. His actions showed that he cared deeply about humanity. Albert believed that peace could not be achieved through violence. He once said that peace comes from understanding. This idea guided his actions and his words. He joined peace movements, signed petitions against nuclear weapons, and spoke at conferences. He wanted people to think about the consequences of war before choosing conflict. His message was clear. Solving problems peacefully is always better than fighting. Even as he grew older, Albert kept his playful spirit. He enjoyed simple things like walking, sailing, and playing the violin. Music remained a big part of his life because it helped him think and feel calm. He never lost his sense of wonder. Even in his final years, he continued to learn new things and ask new questions. He never saw himself as a genius. He just saw himself as a curious person. Albert's legacy lives on not just in textbooks, but in the way people think about science and life. His theories still shape modern physics, but his attitude toward learning and living is equally important. He taught that being curious, staying humble, and thinking independently are essential qualities. He showed that it is okay to be different, and that unique ideas can change the world. Today, people remember Albert Einstein not just for his equations, but for his spirit. He was a scientist who cared about humanity, a thinker who valued imagination, and a person who believed in peace. His story teaches us to keep asking questions, to learn from our mistakes, and to use our knowledge to help others. He left behind a world more thoughtful and inspired because he dared to think differently. Albert Einstein passed away in 1955, but his ideas and values continue to influence people. His story reminds us that greatness comes not just from the mind, but also from the heart. He believed that everyone has the power to make a difference, and he proved it through his life and work. To this day, his life serves as a reminder that curiosity, kindness, and courage can shape a better future. The story of Albert Einstein is not just about a brilliant scientist. It is about a curious boy who grew up to change the world. From his quiet childhood in Germany to his groundbreaking discoveries, Albert showed that true success comes from a passion for learning. Even when he faced challenges at school, he did not let failure stop him. Instead, he found his own way of thinking and never gave up on his dreams. Albert's journey reminds us that curiosity and determination can lead to incredible achievements. Albert's ideas transformed the way we see the universe. His theories, like the special theory of relativity, changed modern physics forever. But more than that, Albert taught us the importance of thinking differently. He was never afraid to question the usual way of doing things. He believed that imagination was more important than knowledge, because imagination allows us to dream and create. Albert's life was not only about science. He was also a compassionate human being who cared deeply about justice and peace. He spoke out against war, defended human rights, and used his fame to support important causes. He showed that being a scientist means being responsible for how knowledge is used. Even when he made mistakes, he accepted them and learned from them. This humility made him not just a great scientist, but also a great human being. The most important lesson we can learn from Albert Einstein is to never stop asking questions. Curiosity is what drives discovery. Sometimes people may not understand us, just like how Albert's teachers did not understand his way of thinking. But that should not stop us from being ourselves. If we believe in our ideas and stay true to our passion, we can make a difference. Being curious, thoughtful, and kind will always take us further than simply following the crowd. In today's world, where technology and science advance so quickly, it is essential to keep the spirit of curiosity alive. Whether in school, work, or daily life, we should always be willing to learn new things and explore new ideas. Just like Albert, we should embrace our uniqueness and use it to bring positive change. No matter how big the challenge, staying curious and open-minded will help us grow and succeed. Congratulations on making it to the end of this story. You have not only learned about the life of Albert Einstein, but you have also practiced your English listening and comprehension skills. By listening to this story, you have taken another step toward improving your English. Remember, learning a language is just like learning science. It takes curiosity, practice, and a willingness to learn from mistakes. If you enjoyed this story and want to hear more inspiring stories like this one, make sure to subscribe to our channel. Your support motivates us to create more content to help you learn English through storytelling. Thank you for being part of our community, and keep learning with us.